I've never been a big fan of carnivals or amusement parks, always finding them a little unsettling, but my friends managed to talk me into checking out the traveling fun fair that had just rolled into town last weekend. They promised tons of rides, games, and cotton candy. How bad could it be? As we approached the entrance, I got a strange vibe. The fences were splattered with age-old posters so faded you couldn't read them. Inside, things looked even more run down. Rides creaked ominously like they might fall apart at any second. Could this place really pass safety inspections? My friends were too excited to notice my unease. They dragged me on the rickety old roller coaster first, which I'm pretty sure hit at least twice the recommended speed limit. When we stumbled off, my heart was racing from fear instead of adrenaline. That's when I noticed the employees didn't look quite right either. Their faces were white and expressionless, like empty masks. Our group split up to try different games and attractions. As the sky darkened, the festive carnival lights took on a strangely menacing glow. I kept noticing figures just out of view, lurking in the shadows. When I turned to get a better look, they'd vanish without a trace. By then, my friends had disappeared into the crowded fairground. As I wandered aimlessly searching for them, a strange laughter echoed all around me. The park was completely deserted, save for one running ride still spinning in circles up ahead. Drawn to it against my better judgment, I spotted a hunched figure manning the controls. "Care to hop on?" A rasping voice croaked from within the hood of a dirty sweatshirt. Terrified but having no other choice, I clambered into the metal car. As we spun faster and faster, the figure cackled maniacally. The world blurred around us until all I could see was his leering grin, lit by a sickly purple aura. My vision spun as the ride finally slowed. Staggering out on shaking legs, I collapsed with relief on the grass. But when I looked up again, everything had changed. The fairground was deathly still, rides frozen mid-spin. Worst of all, those pale masked workers had spotted me. As they crept closer, their disguises seemed to melt away. Revelation was etched on their skull-like faces, grinning in unnatural ways. By then I had backed into a corner, staring in horror as claws emerged from long fingers. They descended on me as I screamed, and jolted awake with a gasp, safely at home in bed. It was only a nightmare, but the carnival's sinister image was forever burned into my mind. Since then, if I spot banners for any traveling fun fairs, I give those places a wide berth. You never know what might be lurking behind cotton candy after closing hours. I'll never forget the night my friends and I decided to check out that abandoned carnival on the outskirts of town. It had only been shut down for a couple years, but already looked completely run down and overgrown with weeds. All the lights were dark, and the rides creaked eerily in the breeze. Still, we were bored teenagers looking for excitement on a Saturday night. As we walked among the empty stalls and boarded-up games, an uneasy feeling crept over me. The park had this really unsettling vibe, like it was frozen in time from its last day of business. Paper cups and tickets still littered the dirt paths. Faded posters advertised acts with smiling clowns and performers that somehow seemed way more sinister in the dark. We found an old funhouse with its doors hanging open, beckoning us inside. Laughing, we crawled through the musty entrance, expecting the usual cheesy scares. But the indoor carnival we discovered was worse than any horror movie set. Mannequins and clown statues leered at us from every turn, stained with creeping black mold. Around a bend, a mechanical laughing hyena had come fully alive, its cackling echoing unnaturally. Freaked out, we started jogging through the twisted halls, trying to find the exit. But everything looked the same. Funhouse mirrors distorted our reflections into nightmarish versions of ourselves. Doors led nowhere or opened onto sheer drops. That's when I heard it. Metallic screams and shrieks that couldn't be coming from any of my friends. We broke into a sprint, slamming randomly into walls, trying to escape the unearthly sounds gaining on us in the dark. heart pounding, I rounded a corner and ran smack into something solid. Except it wasn't another wall. A figure towered over me, the faint light glinting off its rotting clown makeup. I screamed as it grabbed me with scabby hands, the tattered costume hanging off its skeletal frame. More clowns emerged from the shadows, mouths stretching unnaturally wide. Through a side door to hellish fairground rides going full. Speed by themselves, shadows writhing in the seats. My friends pulled me free and we bolted. But as we emerged, coughing into the night, the carnival lights flickered back on, illuminating our horror. The park was teeming with the clown's twisted brethren hunting amongst the stalls and food stands. Laughter and maniacal screams pursued us as we sprinted for our lives to the car, slamming locks and peeling out. I gazed back to see the gates fly open, uncanny figures pouring forth into the night. To this day, I have no explanation for what happened in that cursed carnival. All I know is some doors are meant to stay shut. Whatever lurks within the fading funhouse mirrors and rusted roller coasters, it isn't human. Next time, I'll be sure to heed the warning signs and avoid places that aren't what they seem after dark. I've never been a big fan of amusement parks, even as a kid. Something about all those flashing lights and creepy clown mascots gave me the heebie-jeebies. But last summer, me and some buddies decided to check out this new carnival that had just rolled into town. During the day, it seemed like your average rundown traveling fun fair. But at night, man, what a different vibe the place took on. All the happy families were gone, leaving just a few straggling teenagers and some sketchy-looking carny workers. As the sun went down, our group split up to check out the rickety rides in the fading light. Me and Mitch opted to walk through the empty haunted house attraction first. Big mistake. Inside, it was pitch black except for a few strobe lights flickering erratically. Fake cobwebs and mannequins leered out at us from the darkness as creepy carnival music played tinnily over scuffed speakers. Then the automatic props and jump scares started. A hand grabbing at us from the wall, a clown monster lunging out with a guttural laugh. We were freaked, but laughs it off, until the power suddenly cut out, plunging us into absolute blackness. That's when we heard it, sounds of scuttling and heavy breathing coming towards us from the darkness. I grabbed Mitch's arm tightly as something shuffled past us, so close we could feel its ragged coat brush our skin. We bolted out of there, our hearts pounding. Next thing we knew, bizarre screams and cries echoed around the empty park. Looking around, we realized we were now completely alone with those unearthly noises. Even the carny workers had vanished. That's when through the fluttering neon lights, I saw a distorted figure standing at the end of the midway. It was impossibly tall with long twisting limbs staring right at us. We turned to run, but more were now lurking in the shadows, cutting off our escape. I tripped and fell, helplessly watching those nightmare creatures close in with deafening shrieks and cackles. Just as bony hands reached for me, I woke with a start and a cold sweat. It was just a dream, but that abandoned carnival has always haunted me since. Whenever I pass by those twinkling lights late at night, I swear I can still hear the carnival music playing and see glimpses of pale faces peering out at me from the darkness. Maybe some places are better left abandoned after dark. I've always loved carnivals as a kid, so when I heard about an old-fashioned traveling fun fair setting up in a field near my town, I was excited to check it out. My friend Rachel agreed to come along, figuring it would be a cheap date night. But neither of us were prepared for the nightmare that awaited us behind the gates of that sinister carnival. As we pulled into the deserted parking lot, I remarked how odd it was that we didn't see any other cars. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the fairground. Loud, creepy carnival music drifted on the wind. Rachel shivered next to me, suddenly not so sure about this place. But we'd come this far, so we paid the grumpy ticket guy and headed in. Immediately, something felt off. The rides sat unused and rusting, paint peeling off creaking structures. But dense fog had rolled in, making it impossible to see more than a few feet in any direction. Strange shadows moved within the mist. Then the noises started. Maniacal laughter and screams that didn't sound quite human. I grabbed Rachel's arm, herding us toward the exit. But it was too late. We were no longer alone. Shadowy figures emerged from the fog, stalking toward us with an unnatural gait, like broken marionettes. Their faces were obscured, but I swear I saw blades and hooks glinting where their limbs should be. As they closed in, the carnival music morphed into demented cacophony that shook me to my core. Rachel screamed and we ran blindly into the mist. I vaguely remember passing haunted attractions far more real and gruesome than any normal funhouse. Disemboweled corpses hung from carnival games, chasing us with reaching claws. Flayed skins danced macabre dances under bloody big tops. Laughter echoed all around as we fled, hopelessly lost in the pea soup fog with those things chasing behind. At last we spotted an exit and threw ourselves under gates, collapsing in the gravel gasping. The carnival was gone. In its place, an empty field under a full moon. Had we imagined the whole nightmare? But then headlights appeared on the access road, growing brighter until a dilapidated old van rattled to a stop in front of us. A scarecrow man stepped down, prying loose burlap mask revealing sewn sockets beneath. He beckoned with rusty hooks, fog swirling around him as he crooned. "The show's not over yet, children. Come back inside and play." I've replayed that night over countless times since, trying to understand what cruel force brought our carnival to our small town. My dreams are plagued by the memory of those horrors. The police found no trace of any carnival in that field, but sometimes, on foggy nights, I swear I can still hear its demented calliope song drifting on the wind, luring more souls inside for an eternity of fear in carnival games where the players never win. I pray I'll never again set foot behind the gates of that twisted place of nightmares. I'll never forget the night I stumbled upon that ungodly carnival in the woods. My buddies and I had been out painting the town red for my 21st birthday. On the way back, Jimmy started playing a prank by taking us down twisting back roads instead of the highway. We were howling with drunken laughter as the countryside flew by in a blur. Then up ahead, swaying eerily in a clearing, we spotted the rusty entrance gate. So weathered I could barely make out the peeling letters that read Riley's Carnival of Curiosities. Something gripped my gut as we rolled closer, and I caught glimpses of faded tents and rickety rides past the bars. "Pull over. I want to check it out," I slurred eagerly, already half convinced this place had to hold some birthday adventure. The others cheered and Jimmy peeled into the empty lot, kicking up dust in the moonlight. An ominous carnival tune drifted on the wind, making the hairs on my neck stand up. But I was young and stupid, bolstered by alcohol. We explored in a pack, oohing over decrepit prizes and strange freak show posters. Then came the sounds, pained howls and manic cackles that didn't sound human. We exchanged nervous laughs, convincing ourselves it was just the wind. But when shadows started moving in our peripheral vision, following silently between the tents, the thrill turned to terror. I'll never get the images out of my head. Mangled corpses hanging like slaughtered meat, a tent where flayed skins danced, and those things, those nightmare people, emerging with twisted grins and glints of metal. We ran, but they were impossibly fast, herding us into a big top where the worst horrors awaited. I woke on the cold forest floor alone, clothes bloody but unharmed. Police found no trace of any carnival. To this day, some nights when I close my eyes, I swear I can still hear that devilish calliope luring me back to finish my birthday celebration in that unholy place. God help any soul who finds Riley's Carnival again.